Casting. Casting is used when we have variables of different data types and want to assign one variable to the other. Let's say that we have an integer value that we want to store in a variable declared using the long data type. Because the long data type is larger than an int, we can use implicit casting, which means that we can assign the int value to the long variable directly. If we on the other hand go from a larger container to a smaller container, for instance a long to an int, then we need to use explicit casting of the value being assigned to the int variable. We need to do this because there might be data loss when converting a larger value than the smaller data type can hold. We need to use explicit casting even if the value stored in the long variable is small enough to be stored in an int. This is because the compiler looks at the data type, not the value stored in it. The way we achieve explicit casting is to state the data type we want to cast to within parentheses immediately before the variable containing the value that we want to cast from. It is very common to convert strings to numerical data types. To achieve this, we cannot use the previously mentioned casting strategy. Instead, we use the static to methods of the convert class, passing in the value that we want to convert. There are several methods that we can use when converting, as you can see in the IntelliSense list. Note that the variable data type says int and the method says int32. This is because int32 is the common language runtime CLR name for integer values. In other languages, the 32-bit integer data type might not be named int. Another way of using a string conversion is to parse the value and assess if the conversion went well. Depending on the result, we take appropriate action. When parsing a value, we use the try-parse method on the data type that we want to parse to, the data type we want to end up with. Here we parse an int data type, and within the method parentheses we pass in the string value that we want parsed and an int value that will contain the parsed value. The int variable must be declared using the out keyword, stating that the value will be passed out from the method. If the try-parse method returned true, we know that the value was converted correctly and the int variable holds the value. If the parse is a success, we end up in the if block. Otherwise, we will end up in the else block. We will talk about if statements and the C# language in the next module.